is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM Jacksonville Beach. WJXL FM Jacksonville Beach. Game day is underway. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show on 1010XL. Live from Tailgaters Parking. Presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch. Here are your hosts, Hayes Carline and Mia O'Brien.
Howdy, hey, and welcome into Tailgaters Parking, Growlers Bar and Grill. Mia O'Brien alongside Hayes Carline. Let's just say welcome to the 2024 season. We can just forget last week happened altogether. Right, Jags fans? Right, Hayes?
I think so. I think today's going to be a good day. It's good to see you guys. I was driving up 95 North and had an incredible omen that I think is going to set the tone for a great day
Well, then
today.
we need to lead with this.
Yes. I passed the Jag and Wagon.
Oh!
And they were fired up. So
no one circles the wagons like the Jacksonville Jaguars.
It is going to be a good day today for the Jaguars.
It. Well, I just saw.
And they need it.
I just saw right now it's about a high of 83 here downtown by the stadium with a light breeze in the air. I commented
really
to you.
nice.
Right now it's very, very comfortable.
Little hint of fall.
There's a little bit of rain potentially in the forecast, but if you've been in these parts for any part of the last month, that's probably not a surprise to you. We did allude to last week the Jacksonville Jaguars, losers in week 1, 20-17 at the hands of the Miami Dolphins. They did not trail in that game until the final whistle was sound. But Hayes, as our listeners will hear throughout the duration of today's program, the players in that locker room, especially on the defensive side of the ball, sure as heck feel like, well, it's absolutely an opportunity lost and squandered. There was a lot of good that happened, and probably the bad you could count on maybe one or two hands.
I would agree. I mean, they obviously dominated the first 42 minutes of the game, but then the same problems from last year sort of crept up. Mentally weak team, unable to shake off adversity. Obviously the ETN fumble was a killer. But, if you've got a mentally strong team, if you're the Steelers, the Ravens, the Chiefs, the 49ers, that doesn't sink you. An opportunity to go up 17 there that you squander, those teams are still probably going to make at least one or two plays in that fourth quarter to preserve the win against a team, frankly, in Miami that's mentally weak as well. They're a finesse team. They've got a lot of their own questions about heart, and that's before they even, got to Buffalo. So it's a lot of good. They've got to learn to close, and that'll be a big theme today against Cleveland. So, but certainly the talent is evident on both sides. They've built a good roster. And, what stood out to you in terms of looking at it? Because offensively, defensively, I thought there was a lot of good on both sides.
Absolutely. I think that's why it was such a gut punch to this team because, well, yes, they still did not put four quarters together, and much like their Miami counterparts, that has been their Achilles heel the better part of the last, let's say, 8-9 months, or I guess it's September. We'll say last 10-11 months. How about that? Because that was the case with the Dolphins, I think, down the stretch as well, as much as they squeaked their way into the postseason. Again, this idea of you come out fast, but can you finish that fast? The complete opposite of what this team was in 2022, 2023. For me, I was very impressed by Ryan Nielsen's defense. We talked about it throughout the course of the week leading up to this game, Hayes. Would we still see the hockey shift substitutions like we saw in the preseason, or was that simply a nature of the preseason and trying to get a feel for who fits with who? No. That is how Ryan Nielsen wants this defense to operate, whether it's the defensive front, whether it's the linebacking core, or the secondary. They are a little bit banged up since last week, and so I'm sure that'll factor into some of those substitutions. Overall in the defense, though, was very impressed. And for what it's worth, and I know that this has been the sticking point and the talking point here in town this whole week, I thought Trevor Lawrence looked great. I did not think until that final drive in which he was sacked on back-to-back downs that ultimately was the downfall of the Jaguars' efforts to hold on to that lead. Those two decisions were the only real poor decisions that I saw. And I know there's going to be those of you on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line, which is open, by the way. If you want to watch us, say hi and leave a comment on YouTube, or the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures that are hearing me saying that, and you're saying more excuses for Trevor. But, Hayes, I don't think you would disagree. Outside of those two decisions to take a sack in the final drive of the ball game, And outside of maybe that one throw to Christian Kirk that, I mean, depending on how he timed his jump, you could argue that Kirk should have caught it.
I think that was on Kirk.
Right,
more
exactly.
than Trevor,
and so, and even like I heard somebody complaining earlier this week about the one throwaway and he sailed it over his head. I'm like, no, like that was a throwaway. I actually audibly said to myself in the press box at Hard Rock Stadium, this is a positive development that Trevor Lawrence is throwing the ball away and not trying to gamble in places he shouldn't gamble.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, I don't fault the conservative fourth quarter play calling.
Okay.
They were dominating on the ground. Normally, if you're doing that for 42 minutes, it's going to extend to 60. It's hot. You've thrown a lot of body blows. Normally, you're going to see a defense continue to give up yards on the ground. What was so striking, and again, that's the concern, is this team mentally strong enough to really be a factor in the playoff race? Because when you've got an opponent like that, when you've set it up so well in that fourth quarter, the run game should be there throughout the whole 60 minutes. It's not really how the Jaguars want to play necessarily, but when it's worked so well to that point, you just assume it is going to continue. I don't know whether the Dolphins made an adjustment in the fourth quarter or whether, they just, I think, dug deeper is what I would guess. And that was the main concern. So the run game's been there all day, and then in the fourth quarter it just disappears, which you just don't often see. So I can see why Doug Pederson thought we're going to continue to be able to run the ball on them. And why it went away, who knows? But it's deeply concerning because it speaks to a team that just can't close. So, do you learn the lesson, which I think he's going to have to, which is who cares if the ground game's been working in the fourth quarter? If it's close, the ball needs to be in Trevor's hands, throwing to the weapons that they've assembled that I think are impressive weapons. It was great seeing Brian Thomas, right out of the gate. I didn't expect that. What were your impressions of Brian Thomas?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was the one in June who was a little concerned saying, I mean, he's going to be a starter, but is he going to be a factor? He may end up being wide receiver 3. And it's a one-game sample size for certain, Hayes. But man, oh man, for a guy who was as shy, as quiet as I am not, that young man stepped onto the field at Hard Rock Stadium, and it was a switch that flipped in an instant. And I'm not just talking about the jawing with Jalen Ramsey and giving him as much flack as anybody, but it was burning him like toast. It was absolutely dominating every single route that he ran, 4 catches on 4 targets. Look, I understand that there are plenty of people still nauseating as we get ready for today's game with the Cleveland Browns that are still nauseous over the fact that it was only 4 targets. But that's as reliable you can ask for a 21-year-old wide receiver to be as Brian Thomas was. And you know what? As we're giving some young players shout-outs and set the scene for today's game between the Jags and the Browns, we once again have to give credit to Tank Bigsby because,
absolutely,
I understand that for fans, there was so much disappointment, the fumbles, the miscues throughout the course of his rookie season. But make no mistake about it, the guy that we saw in training camp showed up against the Miami Dolphins. And I think what is going to be so curious, take the fumble by Travis Etienne aside, I want to talk about the actual running prowess between those 2 running backs because as much as, yes, I understand Tank isn't the bowling ball that so many of you clamor for to be the thunder to Travis Etienne's lightning, there is certainly a different style of running there between the tackles versus the outside zone, and it gives the Jaguars flexibility while also keeping Travis Etienne fresh.
Without a doubt, and I thought, they needed something good for Tank Bigsby right out of the gate, and it was unbelievably positive what he was able to do, and particularly when they were really backed up, and Tank was able to get him out of being inside their 5 there. So lots of good from Tank Bigsby, certainly, and I think Etienne's going to have a great year. I think it was a terrible mistake, but he's still, in my opinion, a very good, potentially great player. So, I would expect today, we talk about bounce backs. I would think Travis Etienne has a big day today against what's, a really good Cleveland front. But Travis Etienne, I think, will respond well. But, yeah, to have Tank Bigsby now is a number 2 back there that you feel really good about, it's an excellent spot to be in. So, again, there were a lot of good, but they got one stolen from them. And they've got to now, from here to Week 17, they've got to find a way to steal one that they're not supposed to have, where they played a C- game and yet somehow won the game. That is going to be the challenge. Hopefully it doesn't have to be today. You'd like to think with Cleveland as beat up as they are, that you can get the win at home over the Browns. But however it happens, they've got to make up for what happened in Miami last week.
Jaguars were 3-5 at Everbank Stadium last year in true home games, and so certainly I would think it's something on the minds of these players to bounce back not only from that 20-17 loss a week ago, but also the disappointment of last year. Meanwhile, the visiting Cleveland Browns looking to bounce back from a 33-17 drubbing at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. We are going to catch up with so many folks behind enemy lines on the other side of this, understanding the ins and outs, the keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys. The injury update as well, which I know so many of you are waiting on pins and needles for with the Cleveland Browns. But before we go any further, Hayes, let's hear from the head coach himself. Our very own Frank Frangie, who you will hear from later in today's Terminix Kickoff show, caught up with Doug Pederson on Friday. Here they are previewing today's game.
The coach speaks. Jaguars coach Doug Pederson joins Frank Frangie right now. Presented by Renewal by Anderson Custom Windows and Doors.
All right, time now to talk Jaguars football. We welcome in the coach, Doug Pederson, along with Frank Frangie here on a Friday afternoon. Doug, thanks for joining us. How you doing, man?
Doing well, Frank. Doing well. Thank you for having me.
Hey, home games are fun, man. The home games, it'll be the first one in a while. Can you sense the juice a little bit in the locker room? And it was a tough loss last week for all of us, but do you feel, can you sense that around you guys to get to play in front of the home crowd now?
Yeah, you can. It's always nice to get home, and especially for us to, our season opener really at home, and guys are feeling good. Obviously disappointed about last week, and the way we, the second half was just not who we are, and so we made an emphasis of that this week, and looking forward to the game this weekend.
Let's talk about health a little bit. Tyson Campbell obviously down for a little bit, and then the Savage thing just kind of crept up. So you're going to have some young guys in the secondary. I'm guessing the fact that you played a lot of guys last week and throughout the preseason helps here. Buster Brown, I guess, starts. Tell us a little bit about your secondary moving forward here, Doug.
Yeah, there are some young players, but these young players have played a little bit in preseason, played last week, and it's unfortunate. Darnell Savage got a little injury there Thursday in practice, and so he's going to be out. Hopefully it's just a week, but Buster, Monteric Brown, he'll start at corner, and Jarian Jones, who obviously we're excited about, good young player. Will be at that nickel spot for Savage, and then Christian Braswell, somebody that we had a lot of high hopes for coming out of camp and did a nice job, in training camp, will be, elevated off our practice roster. So excited about that group. They're going against two really good receivers that the Browns have, and be fun to watch.
You played a lot of guys last week defensively. We had talked about that beforehand. I thought it worked. I think, well, maybe it's just because it's hot and it's Miami. But is that the way you think you're going to go moving forward here?
Yeah, I think especially in the D-line, you're going to see a lot more rotation. You're going to see, a lot more bodies out there. I think it's something that Ryan is used to. I was definitely used to that in Philly when Jim Schwartz was there. We rotated 8 guys all the time, and then you saw some of the young linebackers. Ventrell Miller was out there more. Yazir Abdullah was out there. Obviously Chad, Muma, stuff like that. So it's good to get these guys on the field, because what's going to happen is, 10 to 12 plays now over the course of the season could be, 180 to 200 snaps at the end of the year, and that's just taking wear and tear off of some of your starters.
All right, let's talk a little bit about Cleveland. We'll start with offense. You mentioned those two receivers, Amari and Judy. Judy just got there, and you got Deshaun Watson. What have you seen when you've watched Deshaun with the Browns with those two receivers? What do you see? And obviously, he's a mobile guy, so he can create problems. What do you see when you see their offense, Doug?
Yeah, that's the thing is that, Deshaun is still Deshaun. He's still capable of beating you with his legs, still got a really good arm, and I do think he's still working through, some timing and being on the same page with these two receivers. It's, it's probably still a work in progress a little bit. I know he's missed some time there and just kind of getting himself back comfortable, but very dangerous. We know Jerry Jeudy, the type of speed and athleticism he has, and I was in Philly with Amari Cooper in Dallas, and he's a very capable veteran receiver who can not only beat you in the short game, but also get behind you. And so just understanding, I think, a little bit about where these two guys are going to line up in the formations, especially with some young guys in our secondary. Communication is going to have to be imperative, going into this game.
And defensively, of course, it all starts with Myles Garrett. But you mentioned Jim Schwartz a minute ago. He's good. You know what he does. They led the league in defense last year. Same defense that you saw last year. What do you expect from the Browns here?
Yeah, same defensive structure. Obviously, they've added some piece. I think Rodney McLeod was hurt last year when we played him. He should be in the mix this year. Jordan Hicks, who we had in Philadelphia, in the middle linebacker spot, and just a downhill aggressive style of defense. And that's the Jim Schwartz. That's what he preaches and that's what he teaches. But you're absolutely right. It all starts with Myles Garrett and we anticipate him being on the offense's left, but he from time to time can line up over the center or maybe line up over your right tackle. So you got to be aware of where he's at as well. As
you look at a few trends in the league, Doug, number one's the kickoff. I didn't ask you about this last week, but I got thinking about it. Everyone's kicking it out of the end zone. Did you expect that? I know none of us really knew what to expect, but are you surprised that almost everybody's playing it that way? I guess that's the way to play it now. Let them start at the 30, right?
I think what's happening are these guys these returners are getting better and better, and so it's just a matter of not kicking it to them. I mean, the starting field position's been around the 30-yard line, the last couple of weeks anyway, and it's something that it's still, I think it's a valuable piece if you can return the ball, but I think it can also be a dangerous piece because the blocking units are a lot closer than what they used to in the past, and it still becomes a dangerous but yet exciting football play if put in play.
Final thing or two, your players, I know they're fired up. I know Travis Etienne said after the game last week, he feels awful and he can't wait to play again. Tank Bigsby played well. How is Travis? How are those? Trevor, I thought, played okay most of the game. How are you guys? What's the mindset in your locker room right now, Doug?
Yeah, the guys are good. They are anxious to get back out on the field. I think they're excited to just erase a bad feeling last week. And Travis is the type of person that's gonna. You just don't see that from him. I think the last time I saw him do that was, our first year together against the Giants. If you remember, he fumbled in the red zone that one time, but yet he came back and had a good year. So looking forward to him bouncing back. Tank the same way, getting these guys back on the field. But I think as a team, seeing how we come out.
Doug, final thing. You played in this league. You played quarterback. You've coached quarterbacks. You coach now a whole group of players. When you saw what happened last night with Tua, we all watched it, and we certainly don't have the prism you do. What did you think? How did it hit you? What's the effect on a coach and a player when you see what happens like that?
Yeah, I tell you what, I know it's something that the league is trying to, get out of our league and take out and try to keep the health and safety of our players, first and foremost. And, when you see it, especially with a player that's had this in his history and his past, it's unfortunate, and nobody ever wants to see it. And obviously our thoughts and prayers are with Tua and his health and getting him back, healthy again. But at the same time, we still have to play football, right? And we understand the risks that are involved, and we do everything we can to protect our players as coaches, as a medical staff, as medical team, and it's unfortunate. And again, my thoughts and prayers are with Tua, and hopefully he has a good, healthy recovery, here shortly in the next few weeks, if not months.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Doug, and very well said. Doug Pederson, head Jaguar coach. The Jags and the Browns get together on Sunday. Doug, thanks for spending some time, man. We appreciate it. See you on Sunday.
Yeah, you bet, Frank. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Doug Pederson, Jags and Browns coming up on Sunday.
And our thanks again to Renewal by Anderson for sponsoring that weekly segment as Doug Pederson joins the Frangie Show each and every Friday afternoon. Quick thoughts on that interview. Second time you've heard it now, Hayes Carline, before we get set to speak with the aforementioned Frank Frangie on the other side.
Yeah, I thought Doug hit all the right notes. And again, it's I think the Jaguars are going to respond well today. So I don't think it's a great matchup for the Jaguars because Cleveland is so physical. But I think that you're going to see a motivated Jaguars team today. And again, I do think they have a good amount of talent. And so, I really enjoyed the interview and look forward to seeing a very spirited and precise Jaguars team today. I mean, it's not going to be 41-3, but I think when you look at Cleveland's going to have some things go their way. But I think at the end of the day, you're looking at a Jaguars performance that everybody will be proud of.
Let's dive into the matchup even further with the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars on the other side of this timeout. Frangie joins the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, right here at Tailgaters Parking. Don't go anywhere. We are just getting the party started.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the Taxslayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today and let's score big for education at TaxslayerGatorBowl.com.
Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric is now hiring. If you have a 5-star mentality to provide world-class custom plumbing or electrical solutions, you should work with Lickety Split. Their team is incredibly supportive, positive, and dedicated to being the best. If you have a valid driver's license with at least 18 months of experience, apply at Lickety Split, an equal opportunity employer offering competitive pay, a service truck, and a $5,000 sign-on bonus. Hiring management positions too. Visit licketysplitfl.com.
Introducing Gatorade Water. Alkaline and electrolyte infused for great taste. Gatorade Water, always in motion.
Find it at your local Winn-Dixie. For the athletes who give everything, nothing beats Gatorade, the studied, tested, and proven fuel of the world's greatest athletes. Gatorade Water, proudly supporting high school sports on the First Coast.
We're back. Mia here, and winning season is back. Football is back, and MyBookie is here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions, like weekly risk-free boosts on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. If it doesn't, forget it. MyBookie will refund your wager. That's just the beginning, folks. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super, Survivor, and Squares contests. Get your entries in now for your shot at huge cash rewards. For a limited time, they are bringing back the double deposit bonus. When you're ready to get started, just use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. You heard that right. Double your money with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Not to mention, loyalty pays off with MyBookie Plus. The more you play, the more you win. Climb through tiers of loyalty rewards programs to unlock even more epic promotions. Only with MyBookie.
Hey, John, my dad, Randy Marion's gone absolute Cadillac crazy. You won't believe our Escalade lineup.
Well, how crazy we talking, Jennifer?
Buckle up, folks. We've got over 35 Cadillac Escalades.
35 Escalades? That's luxury overload.
I'm talking fully loaded models, cutting-edge tech, and that signature Cadillac style.
And the deals are even more luxurious. $4,000 Escalade loyalty rebate.
Plus 5% off MSRP on retired courtesy vehicles. Head to Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
Plus tax tag title $899 MNP and resist all.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
She's very comfortable talking sports and hanging out with the boys.
Mia O'Brien here, still providing the best multimedia sports coverage in Northeast Florida on 1010XL radio, video, and social channels.
All things Mia are driven by Arlington Toyota.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
Hello there, Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret, Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of the United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank NA, member FDIC.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker. Because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now, another great guest on the Garber Auto Mall phone line.
Hello.
We can wiggle it.
Spent so much time looking back at last week, hearing a wonderful interview with Doug Pederson from Friday that we've barely mentioned, Hayes Carline. The Jags are hosting the Browns today in their home opener, and joining us to break down the matchup, the one, the only, Frank Frangie, the voice of your Jacksonville Jaguars. Frank, how are you on this fine Sunday?
I'm doing well, Mia. Good morning to you and Hayes on what, hey, get this, a day without rain, I think. This may be back-to-back, so I'm looking forward to getting down to the bank.
Knock on all the wood you can find on that front, Frank. I know I'm still bringing my my rain jacket because you never know. Hey, let's dive right into the Browns and this specific matchup in particular. Coming off of last week, a game that so many felt the Jaguars matched up with the Dolphins well. Hayes just said it before we took our first break. This one, while it appears to be a must-win, Frank, do the Jaguars stack up with the Browns as well, per se, on paper as they did Miami?
Well, here's the question. Did they make themselves more physical? Because that was the goal, Mia, in the offseason. And Hayes made a good point. The Browns are a physical football team. Have the Jags matched that physicality? Look, that was the story in the offseason. The pitchers and catchers are pretty good for Jacksonville. That was the case last year. Now, you lost Christian Kirk during the season, and Trevor played hurt, and those things were both devastating. But the goal in the offseason was to make them more physical, to get third and short and fourth and short, which was a problem again last week, to hold up in the pass protection game, to not get run on. That was the goal, is to make the team more physical. So I agree with Hayes. I agree with you. I think this will be a good test to see if they got there. I also think the Browns are better than that team that played the Cowboys last week. They won 11 games last year. They were in the playoffs last year. They led the league in defense last year. That doesn't all go away in one game. They were miserable at home last week against the Cowboys, and they haven't lost sight of that either. So I think it's going to be a physical football game today down there at the bank.
Yeah, absolutely, Frank. And, Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen really have an opportunity. Particularly, we'll see what the inactive list looks like for Cleveland, but we know they're going to be down their left tackle. This could be huge for Trayvon and Josh Hines-Allen. To me, it almost feels like that's the tone that's got to get set, because we've seen Deshaun Watson. He is not comfortable in that pocket with what Cleveland currently has along that offensive front.
I'll be very interested, Hayes, to see how Kevin Stefanski plays this. Because you're right. They're down at least one tackle. The Jags have very good exterior pass rushers. Trayvon had 2 sacks last week. Deshaun Watson was not very good last week. Do they move the pocket a little bit? Is there a more quick game? I would think Kevin Stefanski is going to come up with a plan that he didn't have last week for Micah Parsons and the Cowboys. I don't know what that plan is going to be, but I think that's one of the intrigues of this game is he's a good coach now. He's a 2-time coach of the year in the league. He's a good football coach. What does he come up with that changes what the Browns try to do? Because whatever they did last week didn't work. But I agree with you. If Deshaun Watson, who just doesn't look like the same guy to me, he just doesn't look like the Deshaun Watson that played in Houston those 4 years. So if Deshaun Watson is a sitting duck back there, I think the Jags tee off. The question will become, what do the Browns try to do to counter that? That's one of the fun chess pieces we'll watch today.
Of the Jacksonville Jaguars, joining us on the Garber Auto Mall hotline. You will be able to catch him on the call today with Tony Baselli, Jeff Lageman, and Bucky Brooks right here on the Superstation. Frank, we broke this down on the 1010XL Jaguars YouTube channel on Duval Rundown earlier this week, but a hallmark of Kevin Stefanski's offense is, of course, play action. It's what burned the Jaguars in the last meeting between these two teams in December so mightily, with 2 touchdowns from David Njoku. No Njoku in this game, but play action has not been a forte of Deshaun Watson's. I'm curious, I know you mentioned moving the pocket. Is there anything else you see the Browns possibly being able to change on a 1-week timeline to give Watson success within Stefanski's offense?
Well, your personnel is your personnel. That play action works a lot better when you're faking it to Nick Chubb, who I think might be the best running back, one of the best 2 or 3 running backs in the league when he was healthy. They don't have him anymore. Jerome Ford ran last. I didn't even know who that was. And now maybe he'll emerge as a good player. But you don't have the play action. Is all about personnel and commitment to stopping whatever running back you've got. There's not a lot you can do. I mean, there's only so many things. I think you're going to see some naked. I think you're going to see a little RPO. You know, Deshaun's still only 29 years old. This isn't an older guy. It's just a guy that hasn't really found himself in Cleveland. You even wonder if Cleveland is wondering now, did we make a mistake here in bringing in and all we paid to Deshaun Watson? So there's not a whole lot you can do. You can move the pocket a little bit. I think quick game, too. I think get the ball out of his hands. To Hayes' point earlier, Josh Hines-Allen and Trayvon Walker are good players. The Jags have improved their pass rush. Eric Armstead had a sack last week against Tua. The Jags are better there. The Jags also are fresher there. I think one of the things that I love they're doing, I talked to Doug about this in the interview you just heard, they're playing a lot of people now. This defense is going to be rotating those defensive linemen and rotating in those young linebackers. So it's going to be a fresh team. It's a good pass rushing team against a team that may not have both tackles. I think Conklin's going to play, by the way, but it's still a team that certainly is going to be down to the tackle spot. I think other than getting the ball out of Deshaun's hands and moving him a little bit, there's not a whole lot you can do. I think that's what you're going to see today.
Frank, I'm excited to see an expanded role for Jarian Jones, but it's a difficult challenge for the Jaguars today. How do you think they'll hold up not having Tyson Campbell and Darnell Savage?
Yeah, my guess is the way the game's going to start, Monteric Brown will start outside and Jarian Jones will start at the nickel. I think that's how they're going to go. That's what Doug was talking about in the interview. The question becomes, when you start rotating people in, what happens? Christian Braswell is a guy they really, really liked early on, then didn't make the team, then made the practice squad. Now he's getting elevated today, it looks like. The question becomes middle of the second quarter, middle of the third quarter, early fourth, Hayes, when it's hot and you've played a lot of people and you're committed to the rotating, how that group does. You know what? Buster's going to be fine, but he's not great. He's not Tyson Campbell, but he's a good player. My guess is you'll see a lot of that match coverage you saw last week, where because these two receivers are good now. Amari Cooper and Jerry Jeudy can run. They're not as fast as those two guys last week, but they're fast. So what the Jags did a lot last week, it looked like man, but it really wasn't. It was match coverage where you sit back and then you pick up the guy in your zone. It looks like you're playing man on him. I would guess a lot of that today. I would guess a lot. Stay back. What you don't want is to get beat over the top. The two big plays last week, but when the safeties flattened out, and I think you got to be careful that doesn't happen again. So I think you're going to see a lot of what you saw last week. I don't think you're going to see a lot of bump and run, Hayes, and a lot of press coverage. I think it's going to look the way it did last week when they defended the Miami Dolphins.
You mentioned rotation, Frank, and that was something that Hayes and I led with as we were kind of looking back at last week's game. The idea of the hockey shift, substitutions, and so many people thinking that was just a byproduct of the nature of the preseason for Ryan Nielsen. And instead, we saw it on full display last week. Do you expect to see that again this week, even with perhaps some notable absences in the secondary, as well as perhaps some more appetizing temperatures outside?
Yeah, I do. I think that's how they're going to play. That's one question that I asked Doug is, look, that rotation thing worked last week. They gave up a 62-yarder to Waddle and the 80-yarder to Tyreek Hill, but they defended the Miami Dolphins. The Miami Dolphins had 17 points with 4 seconds left in the game, and they kicked a field goal to win. That's the team that led the league in offense last week. So, and Tua played in last week's game. So against the Jags, and I certainly hope he's okay. What happened Thursday night? But no, I think it worked. I think they're fresh. The other thing is they've got good players, Cam. Ventrell Miller's a good player. I mean, he's not just an okay player. He might be a really good player. So you got to play him some. They've got a lot of guys in that secondary that they kind of like. I think Daniel Thomas comes back today. I think you're going to see him a little bit. Antonio Johnson's still a young player back there. So, no, I think you're going to see that rotation. I think that's one of the things that Ryan Nielsen wanted to do when he got here, is if you have the personnel to do it, and if you have the roster to do it, play a lot of people back there and let a lot of guys get rest. So, yeah, I think that's the plan, and I think you're going to see it all. As long as they're healthy, I think you're going to see that all year long.
Tough day for Christian Kirk last week and a quiet day for Evan Engram. Do you expect those two to bounce back today?
I'd be shocked if they don't both get a bunch of targets. I'd be shocked. I mean, one of the things you do in the NFL is you feed the ball to your good guys. And last week's game was weird, Hayes, in that the Jags got off to a good lead. They were comfortable. They were running the ball very well. They were stopping the run for the most part. So you stay with that. You get up 17-7. You're almost up 24-7. We all know the story by now. Travis Etienne gets into the end zone on that play, the game's over. It's 24-7. You could feel people out in that stadium. Hey, you could feel people starting to leave. So you stay with what you're doing there. I think the Dolphins tried to take away the two big weapons, and I think they did a good job of that. I'd be shocked if you don't see them. Evan Engram had the big game against the Browns last year. I'd be surprised if you don't see a lot of that. Remember this, too. This offense, the way it is structured, the way it has been since this group has been here, Doug, his coaches, Trevor, goes through 17 and 13. Now, everybody else around them are great supportive pieces, and I think Brian Thomas Jr. gives them a whole new dynamic case as he stretches the field, which they just haven't had here. If this offense goes through 13-7, that's not going to change, regardless of what happened last week. My guess is a bunch of targets for both guys today.
Couple more for you on the Garber Automall hotline, Frank, before we let you go. Let's stay on the offensive side of the ball. The run game, you mentioned, of course, the Travis Etienne fumble and what a momentum shift that was last week. I'm curious your expectations in terms of workload for number 1 as well as number 4, Tank Bigsby, who had a nice showing last week as well.
Just what you saw last week, Mia. A bunch of both. I think a bunch of both. Who gets how many carries, probably a hot hand thing. You know, I think whoever's got the hot hand, but you're going to see a bunch of both. I can tell you this, and you heard Doug see this in the interview a minute ago. I can tell you this. They haven't given up on Travis Etienne. He is not a fumbler. He's got great hands. He finds the holes. He's a good running back. Nothing has changed on how this team feels about Travis Etienne. It was one play. He didn't put the ball away. He knows that. Nobody knows it more than Travis. They haven't forgotten about Travis Etienne. But they found something in Tank Bigsby. We talked about that all preseason. You could see the first training camp practice that this was a different guy, that he got that stuff out of his head last year. It kind of worked against him a little bit, that he's physical, he's in great shape. He's the downhill runner that they haven't had. So I think you're going to see a bunch of both of those guys. I think what you saw last week, in terms of the mix last week, where they both carry the ball 12 times, I think that's what you're going to see. It may not be exactly the same, but I think it's going to be very similar to what you saw last week.
What kind of day are you expecting for Trevor Lawrence in Trevor Banks Stadium?
Yeah, we haven't even mentioned
Banks.
it yet. Man, oh, man.
I love that. How do signs look? Have you seen the signs yet in person? I haven't seen the signs yet. They look good?
They look great.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't wait to get down to Trevor. Who's not excited about heading down to Trevor Bank? The bank is Trevor Bank. I think Trevor's going to have a good game. I think Trevor's going to have a good year, Hayes. Again, today you're playing a really good defense with an elite pass rusher and some other good players. Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, one of the best linebackers in the league. He's very similar to the two linebackers in Kansas City. He's very similar to Patrick Queen. He's one of these downhill linebackers that can really run, and they like to send him after the passer some too. So this is a good defense. So I think Trevor sits back in the pocket comfortably and lets it fly 35 times? No. But I think Trevor's at a good place. Again, last week was weird. They got off to a good start. They kind of dialed it back a little bit, and the next thing you know, everything changed in that moment. I think Trevor will be good, but I don't expect this is a game you throw it all over the lot. I don't think this is that kind of game for the Jags today.
Frank, last question, as always, before we let you go. And I don't want to sway you one way or another as I ask you to make your X-Factor prediction for both the Jaguars and the Cleveland Browns. But we do have about 100 people watching right now live on our MyBookie Digital Studio on YouTube. And there's a lot of BTJ love on there. I'm not going to sway you and say who your X-Factor should be, but the people have spoken. Who's your X-Factor for the Jags? Who is your X-Factor for the Browns?
That's the best job of not swaying I've ever heard, Mia. Well done in the not sway. I love BTJ. I love the fact that he changes the team, and I think he does change the team. and I think they're going to be so good with him. I really believe he's the kind of element that they have not had. You even saw it last week. I mean, he played a part in both touchdowns. The pass interference set up the first one, and he caught the second one. He's going to have a big year. But I think what he does best is get down the field, and I think that's harder against a team that rushes the passer as well as the Browns do. I think Evan Engram, who had the big game last week, is going to have it again, or last year, rather, against the Browns is going to have it again. You got to get 17 and 13 going. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a bunch of catches from number 17 to tight end today. So if you give me one guy, give me Evan Engram for today.
1 catch on 4 targets last week. Ditto to Christian Kirk. How about on the Cleveland Browns side? Who is your X factor, Frank?
Well, obviously there's a lot of guys that aren't there anymore. Njoku's not playing. Chubb's down for a while, as we all know. I think if the Cleveland Browns offensively, if the Cleveland Browns are able to beat Jacksonville, that's because one of those 2 receivers got beat. I mean, they didn't do much last week. 2 catches for Amari. Jerry caught 3 balls. So give me those 2 guys. If they don't do anything, if they don't have big games, Cooper and Judy, I guess I'm taking the chalk here. But if they don't have big games, Mia, I don't think there's any way the Cleveland Browns can win. Obviously, Myles Garrett's a factor, but you know that. But I think he's going to have a Myles Garrett kind of game. Judy and Cooper have to have big games because I don't think with no Njoku, with Chubb down and they're having to play Jerome Ford, I don't think there's any other weapon. So I think Cooper and Judy would have to have a good game for the Browns to beat the Jaguars.
Especially with the Jaguars defense holding that high-powered Miami run offense last week to just 3.2 yards per carry. Frank, thanks so much as always for joining us on the Garber Automall Hotline. We will see you in the press box shortly, sir.
Okay, Ian. Hey, see you guys shortly. Thank you.
There he goes, Frank Frangie, again, the voice of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Of course, will be on the call. 1 o'clock kickoff today from Trevor Bank. Thank you for reminding me, Hayes. I should have probably led the program with that. Trevor Bank Stadium. Frank Frangie, Jeff Lageman, Tony Baselli, the Hall of Famer, and, of course, Bucky Brooks on the sidelines. Don't go anywhere. Frank alluded to that injury report. We will hit the Fair and Fair injury report. Plus, head into the Jaguars locker room coming up on the other side of this timeout. You are listening to the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade.
Your radio highlight reel.
Caught for the touchdown.
1010XL, home of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The average cost associated with childhood cancer is a startling $833,000. This is Tom Coughlin, and September is Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Help the J Fund raise awareness to help our neighbors and community members tackling this devastating disease. Visit tcjfund.org/September for more information.
Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. You already know it's your boy E to the T, and winning season is back. Football is back, and my bookie is here, baby, to make sure you're ready to cash in on all the action. This season, my bookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions like weekly risk-free boost on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. If it doesn't, forget about it. My bookie will refund you your wages, but that's just the beginning. My bookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super Survivor and their Square contest. Get your entries in now for your shot to win huge cash rewards. For a limited time, they're bringing back the double deposit bonus. When you're ready to get started, use my promo code 1010XL 1010XL to claim your bonus that doubles your money. Double your cash, my boy, with that promo code 1010XL before you place every bet. And now loyalty pays off. With MyBookie, the more you play, the more you win. It's simple. MyBookie is the lock of the century. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere, and make this season your winning season. Come on, somebody.
Keeping up with Seminole Nation.
Join the Noles in their road to repeat as ACC champs.
Stay close to the Seminoles with the Florida State Seminole Report. Brought to you by your local Ag Pro, your home team on 1010XL.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy Subs and Sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a Dandy. And do it today.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville.
The Terminix Kickoff Show.
Presented by Clearwater Irrigation
and Gatorade Fast Twitch.
On 1010XL.
We are rocking and rolling on a game day Sunday here at Tailgaters Parking, Growlers Bar and Grill. Be sure to stop on by and say hi. Mia O'Brien, Hayes Carlyon, John O'Leary pushing all the right buttons here on site. Dylan Denmark back at 1010XL World Headquarters as we get you set for Jaguars and Browns. Kickoff at 1 p.m. at here we go, Trevor Bank Stadium, Hayes. As we get ready to make the turn into the second hour of today's program, we still have a little bit of business to get to here in the 8 o'clock hour, beginning with the Farah & Farah injury update.
The personal injury attorneys of Farah & Farah present this injury update. Farah & Farah,
Jacksonville,
exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
So let's begin with the two headliners on the Jaguars side of the ball, that being Tyson Campbell, placed on injured reserve with the pulled hamstring that he suffered against the Miami Dolphins last week. That means he will not return until at earliest the Jaguars' second game in London against the Chicago Bears. Elsewhere, Darnell Savage, it was kind of wacky, Hayes, to take everybody behind the curtain. We were, in the locker room during open availability. Darnell was there, talking to Darnell, and apparently in the early onset of practice on Thursday, per Doug Pederson, he suffered some sort of quad injury, not expected to go today, but as you heard Doug Pederson say in his interview with Frangie from Friday, he's hoping it's just a one-week injury.
Yeah, and it's really tough for Savage. Anytime you have an injury occur during just the practice week, that's really rare and certainly unfortunate for this Jaguar defense. The Tyson Campbell injury is real concerning for me because as you look at it, yes, he could come back in 4 weeks when they head to London. I wouldn't even take him. I mean, to me, I would look at this as a minimum of 6 games. You want Tyson to be fresh. Hamstring injuries it's almost like, okay, as soon as you're medically cleared, still give it 2 more weeks before getting out there. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, obviously, it could be as much as 8 weeks, but he's certainly going to miss the next 4 games. I wouldn't even take him to London. That's 6. Gives him an extra couple of weeks to rehab. I just wouldn't put him on a flight there and back and risk any of that. But we'll see how they elect to go about it. But it's a big loss. I mean, to me, there's a big drop-off between Tyson Campbell and the next best corner, and to lose Savage as well. Again, you just hope that Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, and the rest in Armstead, the rest of the pass rush can make Deshaun Watson really have to speed up, not trust his protection, and drop his eyes like he did last week. Because if he has time, you worry about to me, then the Browns have a massive advantage there. So definitely something to watch today, and certainly for Tyson Campbell's sake moving forward. Hopefully with Savage, it's just sort of a 1 week thing, and we see him back next week.
And of course, Tyson Campbell also had a nagging hamstring injury all of last year, and so that's all the more reason to be careful monitoring him moving forward. Elsewhere within the Jaguars injury report, Daniel Thomas missed last week's game, did not travel to Miami. He does not have an injury designation for this game, so that's great news. Cam Robinson, who has been limited this week, the first 2 days of the 3-day practice schedule for the Jaguars, also does not have an injury designation. Caleb Johnson, Tyler Lacey, both questionable. Doug Pederson on Friday, Hayes, sounded optimistic. All 4 of those players will be available today.
Yeah, I mean, I think every other position is healthy other than the secondary. So, hopefully you get big-time performances, from the other units. And, again, hopefully the rush is really there today to make it a little bit easier on the coverage. And so we'll see. So you look around the league, there's already been a ton of attrition. So the Jaguars aren't alone in it. In fact, I would argue Cleveland comes into the game really more beat up than the Jaguars.
Yeah, it's kind of wild when you look at the Cleveland Browns injury report, Hayes, that they have only ruled 2 players out. We mentioned David Njoku, who caught 2 touchdowns against the Jaguars in last year's meeting, is out this week and is considered week to week. Jedrick Wills, the starting left tackle, missed last week's game. He did practice in limited fashion on Thursday and Friday. He has also already been ruled out. 2 major cogs in that offense, not in this game. And then you also add to that Jack Conklin, the starting right tackle, questionable for this game after missing the opener.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If Conklin doesn't go today, anytime you're down both starting tackles, I mean, we all talk about Deshaun Watson doesn't look like the same player, and I agree with that. But when you don't have your 2 starting offensive tackles, I don't know very many quarterbacks in this league that are going to look good and look comfortable. The Jaguars would actually be one of the better teams that could handle it if they didn't have Cam Robinson and Anton Harrison, because at least you have Walker Little, who is serviceable. I don't know who the 4th guy would be, Van Lanen, or who knows what they would do, Foster maybe at the other spot. But it would be a problem here, and they actually might have at least a good 3rd tackle. For a lot of clubs, you've got nothing really behind your 2 starting offensive tackles. So for Cleveland, it is a massive problem. If it already sort of is, but if Conklin can't go again today, huge problem for the Browns. Obviously, not having Chubb, as you mentioned, not having Njoku, it really sets up a tough situation for Cleveland. Stefanski's a great coach, but there's only so much you can do, and so it would be disappointing if Cleveland goes up and down the field today, particularly if they don't have either tackle.
Starting guard Joel Batagno, multi-time Pro Bowler, multi-time All-Pro, is also limited this week with an elbow injury. No injury designation for him. The big news, though, Myles Garrett missed practice on Thursday with a undisclosed foot injury. He was limited on Friday, and you pair that up, Hayes, with Zadarius Smith, the opposite defensive end from Myles Garrett. Did not practice on Thursday with a back injury, limited on Friday. Both players do not have an injury designation. But this does suggest they're both not 100% at this juncture.
Yeah, without a doubt. And again, I think this is where Doug Pederson is in a good spot here, because the Jaguars have shown they can run the ball last week. So, and obviously we know the vast array of weapons that they have in the passing game. So if you're Cleveland defensively, it shouldn't be hard to get them off balance. And if Garrett and Smith have to respect the run, then it does slow them down in terms of their pass rush. So I think that's a big key today. I know everybody wants to see Trevor throw it 50, 60 times. I get that. But don't be surprised if they initially lean on the run, because obviously Etienne, very good player. They love what they're seeing out of Tank Bigsby. And so, you want to try and keep the Browns honest at least early. And, I think the Jaguars have the tools to do that.
And they felt like they were moving the ball on the ground last week. That is the Farrah and Farrah injury update. Let's head on into the locker room, Hayes Carlyon. You caught up with Evan Engram?
I did, yeah. I had a great conversation with him on Friday. Obviously, he's one of our favorites. And, you mentioned Njoku in last year's meeting that Cleveland won, having the 2 touchdowns. It was a great day for both tight ends. because Evan Engram against the Browns last year, 12 targets, 11 catches, 95 yards, and 2 scores. And again, he was quiet last week. I think you're going to see a big bounce-back performance from Evan Engram today.
Let's take a listen. Actually, I'm realizing now, just checking with our producer back at 1010XL World Headquarters, we have Evan Engram. We also have Chad Muma, and so we're also going to hear from him in the program. Let's see.
Love Chad Muma.
Let's take a little roll of the dice here. Let's see. Who does Dylan Denmark have for us in the Jaguars locker room? It is...
We'll go Evan Engram.
We'll go Evan Engram. Here is Evan Engram with Hayes Carlyon earlier this week.
We are pleased to be joined with Jaguars tight end Evan Engram here on 1010XL 92.5 FM. Man, it's great to see you. How you doing?
Doing well. Good to see you, too.
Everything going your way?
Yes, sir. We're a great week of prep, ready to go play on Sunday.
What stood out to you this week, Evan, about how the team responded?
I think every day was sharp this week. Obviously, there's going to be mistakes here and there, but the way guys responded every day, the way we came out in practice, attention to detail, I thought the coaches put together a really good game plan for us to go execute. So everybody responded really well this week, but we got to go make it count on Sunday. I think everybody has that mindset as well.
Does the Cleveland defense, their scheme, does it fit your eye? Because last year in Cleveland, you had a sensational game, 12 catches on 13 targets, just a monster game. How do you kind of see the Cleveland defense? Obviously, they're very talented, but does that give you confidence going into this matchup?
For sure, definitely. Anytime you can have success against a great defense like that, you kind of feel like it can be repeated, but at the end of the day, they're going to have a plan. They have a great defense. They have great players at every single level, and we have great players too. We were dealing with some injuries in our skill group last year, so there'll be more great players out there to spread the ball around, and I'm definitely just looking forward to executing the role that I have in the game plan. So it's going to be a challenge. It's going to be tough, but playing against good defense like that definitely excites me, and brings the best out of me and the rest of the guys as well.
Yeah, that's a great point, because Christian wasn't active for the Cleveland game, but obviously you'll have him now. So how is that group coming around? Because it does seem like Brian's picked it up pretty quick, and Gabe's doing a good job. So you happy with the collective?
Yeah, I mean, you got great players on the field and healthy. Defenses have to account for all of it. You try to take one guy out, the other guy, makes a big play. You give everybody equal shot, a one-on-one, and then that's when you try to let your best players go win. So, they have a great defense. We have, I think we have the potential to be a really good offense too with everybody healthy. So that definitely excites us. Definitely excited, go respond after last weekend, and try to put up a great offensive performance, help our defense, and put together a good team win.
They obviously have such an incredible rush, led by Myles Garrett. Is there an importance in being able to complete passes quickly, maybe more short, quick game?
Yeah, definitely. You want to be a pretty nice security blanket for Trevor this week with their pass rush and the different pressures they send. As a tight end, you definitely always want to be the quarterback's best friend, but weeks like this, you definitely want to be available underneath. Allow him to get the ball out, allow him not to take that many hits, and just kind of be reliable when things hit the fan. So that's the thing, that's the challenge that their defense presents. They're gonna send pressure. They got one of the best players in the league, and Miles. So we definitely have to be on our P's and Q's underneath and make the big plays when we get the opportunity.
What are you seeing from some of the younger guys in your room, Brenton, Luke, guys like that?
It's really impressive how far Brenton has come just in 1 year, how he's worked this off season. The role for him is increasing. He's a great blocker, and he's becoming a great receiver as well. And Luke, this is year 4 for him, and his growth has been awesome too. He's obviously been our bell cow in the running game, but he has potential to get downfield and make some plays too. So those guys have been awesome to work with, and to see their growth has been amazing. And I do a lot of work, and I take pride in having a big role in the offense. But those guys are becoming a big part of our offense as well. And I love our room. I love the package that we bring on the field, and going to continue to push those guys, and they're going to continue to push me as well.
You've been in the league a long time. It's an 0-1 start. Is there a sense of urgency to avoid 0-2, or there's so many games left? It's like, look, let's just focus on what we do well and what maybe we can take advantage of with them.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't say we're thinking about avoiding a situation. I think we're more focused and locked in on just winning this next game. We understand the ups and downs of the season. We understand there's going to be adversity. We're going to get punched in the mouth, whether now or later. We just got to attack that with a clear mind and great intention. So I think this week has been really good to see just our intention of responding, not really worrying about what's ahead, obviously flushing what's in the past, just taking advantage of the opportunity that we're going to get on Sunday to respond. I think that's a good thing about this team is our mindset with that.
You've got such a great connection with this fan base. How much are you looking forward to having the home opener and being out there in front of your fans?
I can't wait to see some of the 17 jerseys in the stands. It's been cool over the last couple of years. I've been seeing more and more and more. And this preseason, I saw a good bit, and so I know they're going to be in there jumping for us and getting us, bringing that energy for us to perform. So we definitely owe them a great season. A lot of work that we put in here is for them, and we're just looking to put a win, the first home opener for the fans for sure.
Awesome stuff. Well, Evan, certainly best of luck to you, and really appreciate your time today.
Definitely. Thank you, too.
Wear your 17 jerseys. Evan notices. He appreciates it. I really appreciate his time. One of our favorite guys, the reigning Good Guy Award winner in terms of his cooperation with the local media and a tremendous player. Hopefully he'll be a Jaguar. Tight ends now play until they're 35, or so. So he's
aging
30.
like fine wine at this
Absolutely.
point in time.
So hopefully Evan Engram is not even at the midpoint part yet of his Jaguars career.
And those 17 jerseys hopefully out in full force. I've already seen a few Browns jerseys here at Tailgaters. We don't like that, Hayes. We don't like that. We need the teal and black. Make sure you come on down. Tailgaters Parking, Growlers Bar and Grill. Stop on by and say hi. Of course, you can also leave us a comment on the MyBookie Digital Studio chat line. Of course, that means you're watching us live on YouTube, X, or Facebook. You can also text in on the text line designed by Lifetime Enclosures at 641-1010. Let's make the turn into the 9 o'clock hour. John Doss from WEWS in Cleveland going to join us in just a little bit around 9:20-ish. But first, our keys to the game on the other side right here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch.
Universal Roof and Contracting has been protecting Florida homes from the elements for over 30 years. Call Universal Roof and Contracting today for a free roof inspection and get 15% off your roof repair or replacement. Plus, flexible financing options and payments as low as $115 a month. This offer expires September 30th. Call 855-ROOF-HELP.
License number CCC 1330747, CBC 1258484.
UniversalRoof.com. Hi, I'm Chuck Farah. We know how important it is for you to have a vehicle after you've been injured in a car accident. So when we represent you for your personal injury claim, we'll help you get a rental car from the insurance company while your car is being repaired. And we'll provide this service at no additional fee. If you're hurt and you've got no car, let my team go to work for you. Farah & Farah, protecting you and your family. Call us at 396-5555 or go to farahandfarah.com. Jacksonville.
Jags fans, a new Everbank Performance account could be your ticket to London this October. Through the Everbank London Getaway, one lucky winner and a guest will receive round-trip airfare, hotel accommodations, and a pair of tickets to see the Jags play in London. To learn more and for official rules, visit everbank.com/London. No person necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of 50 United States and D.C. 18 or older. Entry period for the Everbank London Getaway Suites is from 8/5/24 to 9/5/24. To enter and for official rules, alternate method of entry, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/London. Sponsor and administrator, Everbank N.A.
Hey, sports fans, it's Hayes Carlion for MyBookie. Football is back. Winning season is back. MyBookie's here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions like weekly risk-free boosts on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big, and if it doesn't, forget it. MyBookie will refund your wager. But that's just the beginning. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super Survivor and Squares contests. Get your entries in now for a shot at huge cash rewards. For a limited time, they are bringing back the double deposit bonus when you're ready to get started. Use my promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first
first deposit with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Remember, exclusive giveaways and bigger rewards. MyBookie is the lock of the century. Bet on anything, anywhere, anytime, and make sure your season is a winning one.
Mia here. When it comes to roofing, whether it's shingles, metal, or most repairs, there is one name that has protected your home since '99. Pro-Jax Roofing. Serving all of Northeast Florida, Mike and his guys have been repairing and replacing roofs for over a decade. Need insurance help? Mike's team can help. Raised in a military family, Mike provides great attention to detail with unparalleled quality and workmanship. They also have warranties, so you can have peace of mind. Call today for a free estimate or online at projaxroofing.com.
Sports talk sometimes gets confusing. I'm Hayes Carlyon, here to clean up the confusion. Join me afternoons on The Frangie Show for Cleaning Up with Hayes, brought to you by Molly Maid on 1010XL.
Before termites attack your home or business and cause costly damage, Terminix it. At Terminix, we know how to stop termites. These destructive pests have been around for millions of years, but before they show up, so do we. And their time is up. Don't live with a termite problem? Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjax.com.
This is the flagship station of the Jacksonville Jaguars. WJXL AM and FM, Jacksonville Beach. 1010XL, home sweet home of the Jacksonville Jaguars. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now the keys to the game. Brought to you by Instant Keys, fast, professional, honest locksmith service.
Well, let's begin hour number 2 of the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade with our keys to the game. Hayes Carlyon, Mia O'Brien, John O'Leary here live at Tailgaters Parking, Growlers Bar and Grill. Hayes, for me, I think Frangie brought up a very underrated storyline, which is if play action has been a struggle for Deshaun Watson, so many people want to put that on the quarterback and his struggles since arriving in Cleveland. But is it also a byproduct of not having Nick Chubb? I really like Jerome Ford coming out of Cincinnati in the pre-draft process. Obviously lands in Cleveland as a day 3 draft pick, stays in the state of Ohio. Just 12 carries for 44 yards last week. I'm not so sure that was an idea of what Ford can do as much as a byproduct of a ferocious Dallas Cowboys defensive front, which certainly we hope the Jaguars are able to eclipse that mark this Sunday. But at the same time, it is something that you cannot deny. Kevin Stefanski is going to want to run the ball, whether Nick Chubb is in the game or not. The Jaguars pride themselves on stopping the run. They're going to have to do that today.
And I'd be disappointed if the Jaguar run defense doesn't play really well today because of the matchup. So that's absolutely a great key. I think third down's a big key for this Jaguar offense. They were putrid against the Dolphins last week. Cleveland's defense is good on that down. They were last year, and against Dallas, they held the Cowboys to 4 of 14, 28.6% last week. So, you know, the Browns, they believe in themselves on that money down. The Jaguars have to find some confidence there, but they can't have, you know, that percentage can't be below 30% again today for the Jaguars. So that's going to be tricky. Again, the good news is the Jaguars have so many options they can go to that you hope that they'll be able to scheme up enough stuff to come in. They don't have to be 50% or anything, but you'd like to see, 42%, somewhere in there on third down. But that, to me, is going to be a big key today because the Jaguars are struggling on third down, and that Browns defense did an excellent job against Dallas, who's got an explosive offense last week in that loss to the Cowboys.
And not only have the Jaguars struggled on third down, dating back to last year, Hayes, They struggle on 3rd and 1.
Oh,
4th and 1.
I'd almost rather it be 3rd and 6.
Right. We saw a vast improvement last week in terms of the play of the interior 3 along the offensive line compared to last year, thanks in large part to the acquisition of Mitch Morse at the center position and a healthy Ezra Cleveland. But even with that becoming a potential strength, they still could not convert on 3rd and 1. They still could not convert on 4th and 1. I'm curious if that is perhaps a byproduct of a tough day at the office for Anton Harrison at the right tackle position. Cam Robinson, we mentioned, does not have an injury designation, but he does have this lingering knee injury of some sort. And so I'm curious to see that offensive line. It will only be their second real showing together at full strength with Mitch Morse as the anchor of that offensive line. Do they find more continuity in the run game in particular today?
Yeah, it's a great question, and I think they can because I think they've got 2 good backs. I think Etienne, again, he's gonna bounce back from the fumble. So I have my confidence is not wavering at all in Travis Etienne, and I do think Tank Bigsby is here to stay. So that's exciting. Can they open up some space against Cleveland? That certainly will be a big key. And I think looking at it, we talked about the Jaguar run defense. A big part of this game is Deshaun Watson all of a sudden looks like Malik Willis out there. And, can you sustain that? They can't have a lot of confidence in him. He can't have a lot of confidence in himself right now. So you have to stymie him early. You can't let Deshaun Watson get the ball and go 9 plays for 75 yards in 6 minutes and get up, 7-0 on you right out of the gate. You've got to get Deshaun Watson flustered early by the rush, certainly covering Cleveland's talented receivers. He's not going to have his security blanket today in Njoku. And we'll talk to John and see what he says about that Browns perspective of who might step in at tight end there. But it doesn't seem like they've got a really great option. So in looking at it, you've got to, if you can slow Cleveland early, my guess is Deshaun Watson's game is going to continue to go in the tank. I see no evidence that this is a player that can somehow find himself in the fourth quarter if things aren't going well. And it seems like his confidence in what is around him is just at an all-time low.
One player to watch, Jordan Akins, expected to step in for David Njoku, who again has already been ruled out of this game. Akins did catch over 30 passes from Deshaun Watson when they were teammates in Houston. I'm curious to see if they can kind of rekindle that chemistry in Cleveland, and if that gives some sort of safety valve to Deshaun Watson, because the chemistry, like you said, with Amari Cooper, with Jerry Jeudy, especially Jerry Jeudy, who was acquired this offseason, really isn't there just yet.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, again, I think there's no reason with what we saw from the Jaguar defense last week. Certainly we're all excited about Ryan Nielsen. I don't think Cleveland's going to have much of a ground game. So you're probably looking at some unenviable down and distances that Deshaun Watson's going to have to combat. You cannot allow him to make plays early. There's no reason. There's no evidence to suggest that this should be Deshaun Watson's breakout game with Cleveland. If it happens today, it would be incredibly disappointing.
One more for me. What did you make of Anton Harrison's performance last week?
I mean, he was lousy, but, it's one game. You hope that he's better. I think he will be better. But yeah, it was a lousy day for Anton Harrison.
What I'm genuinely interested to see, whether it's Anton or Cam Robinson on the other end, how often do the Jaguars bring help for them? Because as much as I think Anton was maligned last week, and Anton will be the first to admit it to you, I spoke to him earlier this week. We played that interview on Helmets and Heels on Friday. He knows that might have been his worst performance in a Jaguars uniform. But I can't help but get away from, if you look at how often this team drops back 5, there's no tight end help. The running back, in terms of pass pro, has been inauspicious at times. I look at this matchup with Myles Garrett, and I see week 2 last year with Chris Jones, in which it was as if Press Taylor and company had no idea that Chris Jones would be moving up and down the line and earmarking the then rookie playing his second career game as this is the matchup I want to play at. And that is where I believe Myles Garrett is also hoping to make a living today. Not necessarily on Anton, but again, moving up and down that line, using disguises and trying to find the weakest link along the Jaguars' offensive line.
It's a great point. Doug Pederson said earlier in the week, Myles Garrett is a guy you have to spend extra resources on. Well, that means a tight end, and I think it's a great point because I don't think they have any choice. I think you've got to employ, whether it's Strange or Farrell. It's not going to be Engram, but in terms of that blocking tight end, I think it's going to be a constant part of the game plan because the Jaguars should be okay if Myles Garrett doesn't just destroy the game plan. If they can contain Myles Garrett, in my opinion, they should have enough success to get to, let's say, 24 points in this game, which should be ample with what we've seen out of Deshaun Watson in this Cleveland offense.
And what we've seen out of the Jaguars defense.
Absolutely.
Even if it's a one-game sample size. Those are our keys to the game, brought to you by Instant Keys. When we come back, John Doss of WEWS is going to join us to break down the Cleveland Browns. We will head behind enemy lines right after this, coming up on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade.
More Jaguars, more prep sports, more Gators, more Knowles, more Dogs, more golf. Plus original podcasts from your favorite 1010XL personalities. 1010XL.com.
Injured in an accident that's not your fault? Don't worry, Zach's got your back. I'm Zach Von Rowan at Von Rowan Law, and over the past 20 years, I have fought to recover millions from my clients throughout Jacksonville. If you've been injured in an accident, have mounting medical bills, can't work, don't worry. Zach's got your back. I will fight for the compensation that you deserve and will be there every step of the way. Go to Zach'sGotYourBack.com to set up your free consultation with me today. Zach'sGotYourBack.com.
Want to be up close and personal with the Jaguars as they take the field? Here's your chance to be in the shadows, outside the Jaguars locker room, now called the Vault. Enter today at everbank.com/shadows. One winner and a guest for every home game at Everbank Stadium. No purchase necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents in 50 United States and D.C. 18 and older. Entry periods for the Shadow Sweepstakes promotion from 8/19/24 to 12/15/24. For official rules and complete details, visit everbank.com/shadows. Sponsored administrator, Everbank NA, member FDIC.
Wow, John, my Clearwater sprinkler system looks great.
All right, Frank, let's go ahead and program your Rainbird timer. How many minutes do you want the zones to run?
John, I think we run from the front 20, the sides 15, the back 10, the Garden 5. Clearwater scores!
Well, that's a first, Frank, but you're the boss.
Clearwater Irrigation. We can't sing a lick, but we sure are good at sprinklers.
And drainage to
ClearwaterJacks.com.
We're back. Mia here, and winning season is back. Football is back, and MyBookie is here to make sure you're ready to cash in on the action. This season, MyBookie is pulling out all the stops with incredible promotions, like weekly risk-free boosts on Thursdays, where you can bet without a sweat. If your bet hits, you win big. If it doesn't, forget it. MyBookie will refund your wager. That's just the beginning, folks. MyBookie is giving away hundreds of thousands in prizes with their Super, Survivor, and Squares contests. Get your entries in now for your shot at huge cash rewards. For a limited time, they are bringing back the double deposit bonus. When you're ready to get started, just use promo code 1010XL to claim a bonus that doubles your money on your very first deposit. You heard that right. Double your money with promo code 1010XL before you even place a bet. Not to mention, loyalty pays off with MyBookie Plus. The more you play, the more you win. Climb through tiers of loyalty rewards programs to unlock even more epic promotions. Only with MyBookie.
Go inside the huddle with our QB, David Garrard.
Hey, I know if you give me time, baby, we can do whatever we want.
And get into the head of an NFL signal caller. Mondays from 10 to noon on Jaguars Today. Brought to you by WaterboyJacks.com on 1010XL.
Hey, John, my dad, Randy Marion's gone absolute Cadillac crazy. You won't believe our Escalade lineup.
Well, how crazy we talking, Jennifer?
Buckle up, folks. We've got over 35 Cadillac Escalades.
35 Escalades? That's luxury overload.
I'm talking fully loaded models, cutting-edge tech, and that signature Cadillac style.
And the deals are even more luxurious. $4,000 Escalade loyalty rebate.
Plus 5% off MSRP on retired courtesy vehicles. Head to Randy Marion Cadillac on Southside Boulevard, Jacksonville.
Plus tax, tag, title, $899 MNP and resist all.
Tell them Jennifer sent ya.
Hey everybody, Mike Dempsey here for Dandy Foods. Dandy subs and sandwiches. Look, we always want you to think about those great options as you're driving around Duval. But the beauty is, even as I'm dropping pounds, Dandy's got great options for me as well. Told you all about their protein packs, delicious salads that they have out there. They have fruit cups for on the go. You know what they have. Veggie snack trays. You can grab those on the go as well. Perfect, healthy snack. Dandy is the name to know when you're on the go. So stop into a Gate store anywhere around Duval and make yours a Dandy. And do it today.
I'm here with Clayton Bromberg of Underwoods. Clayton, let's talk about diamond cutting. How is a diamond price affected by the way it is cut?
Frank, that's probably the most important question asked about diamonds, because the trade-off between a diamond cut for maximum beauty and one that's not is the diamond's carat weight. You see, diamond cutters buy rough diamonds based on quality and weight. So as they cut the rough diamond, everything cut away affects profits. However, there's specific known cutting parameters, and each deviation from these means they have a heavier, less beautiful diamond. Unfortunately, a customer can't detect all those cutting imperfections. They need expert help about a diamond's cut grade. You see, for any round diamond of a particular color, clarity, and carat weight, there are as many as 10 different prices that can vary by as much as 50%. At Underwoods, we look specifically at how a diamond's cut before we look at anything else, because it's the most important factor when it comes to a diamond's beauty, and to us, whether it should carry the Underwood name or not.
Does the building you go to work in every day need a little love and attention? Jason Parker here with Performance Painting. Great companies take great care of the buildings their staff and customers walk into every day. If the building you're in doesn't match the vision you have for your company, we can help. Go to performance-painting.com. Our highly trained team makes the difference. Quality coatings applied with pride.
Performance Painting. 1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. Now let's go behind enemy lines. Behind enemy lines. Brought to you by Pella Windows and Doors on 1010XL.
John Doss, the sports director at WEWS in Cleveland, and of course the host of Browns Countdown, joining us now on the Garber Automall hotline as we get set to go behind enemy lines. Welcome to Duval, sir. Good to hear from you.
Behind enemy line seems super unnecessarily aggressive.
Because you're not my enemy. You are my friend, although I don't know if the rest of Duval wants to hear that today.
We're going to watch 3 hours of just potentially painful football today.
I love it. I love it. Here, what better way to lay the groundwork for your appearance here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, John, than by your most recent tweet. Quote, I'm not surprised the Browns offense didn't look good with a quarterback who hadn't played in 300-plus days and a third-string left tackle. I am surprised it looked this bad. That, of course, was sent after the Cleveland Browns lost 33-17 at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. Walk us through that game before we look ahead of today's.
I was hoping that we could just talk about this game and not have to relive old here, but Deshaun Watson looked conservatively like the worst quarterback in the NFL. He had a QBR of 9. It is on a scale from 0 to 100. His QBR was 9, and I don't even think that properly summed up just how bad he was. This is a team that did not take the preseason seriously, and I know many teams don't play their starters in the preseason anymore. That's the reality of the summer in the NFL. But it's also a team that didn't seem to take training camp all that seriously. They had a number of guys who didn't play almost the entirety of training camp. Myles Garrett, Deshaun Watson took it very easy in training camp. You would think you would want some live action reps before week 1 of the season. The Browns opted for the most part not to do that outside of 2 days of joint practices with Minnesota. And that's the result. That's the result. It looked like a guy who wasn't properly reading defenses and certainly wasn't on the same page as his defense.
Hey, John, it's Hayes Carline. Thank you for joining us, and I couldn't agree more watching that Cleveland-Dallas game in terms of Deshaun Watson. But the offensive tackle attrition, boy, that'd be tough for really any club to be able to handle. How do you anticipate that will go today? Do you think Conklin will be available for the Browns?
I think the plan has been that Conklin will be available, and that's what we hope is going to be the case today. And listen, I am sympathetic to offensive line injury issues. This is a team that started 10 different offensive linemen in 2023. but they were still able to do what they wanted to do. And for whatever reason, they weren't able to do that with a mostly healthy starting offensive line last week. And I understand Joe Bitonio and Wyatt Teller, they are all pro guards. They are another year older, and maybe we're seeing that slight decline there in the interior of the offensive line. But there are no excuses, guys. They were playing with second, third, fourth-string tackles in 2023 and were able to win football games, albeit with a different quarterback.
Of course, the irony was the last time the Jaguars and the Browns faced, John, the Jaguars were starting a fourth-string left tackle. Now it could be the Browns facing that situation. Big picture here on the offensive side of the ball. We've talked a lot about how Kevin Stefanski has a certain style of offense, and it requires a circle peg. But Deshaun Watson right now is a square peg. How do you see him curtailing the game plan to fit Deshaun, or is this quite simply going to have to be a clash of styles all year long?
I think this is the frustrating thing since Watson got into town 2.5 years ago, right? We know Kevin Stefanski is a really intelligent coach. He's a two-time NFL Coach of the Year in just 4 seasons. He's an Ivy Leaguer. We know he's brilliant. We know he can call plays because we've seen it in action. But for whatever reason, that offense is not working for Deshaun Watson or with Deshaun Watson. And this offseason, they went out and got Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator because he was more familiar with Watson's style of play. Now, granted, Dorsey's not calling the plays. Stefanski still is. But that's been the question since Watson got here is, do you break it down and install a system that is beneficial to the quarterback that you've guaranteed $230 billion to, or do you try to fit him into your system? Because that hasn't worked. When Stefanski's gotten a quarterback that works in his system, a 40-whatever-year-old off the couch, Joe Flacco last year, he was incredible. So we know that Stefanski's system can work. It hasn't worked with Watson, and they have yet to completely throw it in the garbage and give him something that suits his skill set best. So I think we'll continue to see what we've been seeing for the last 2 seasons.
John, in terms of the tight end position for Cleveland, not having David Njoku, who do you expect will step up for Cleveland today, and what kind of a void is left with not having Njoku out there?
Are you available?
I am, and I'll do it for the league minimum.
I mean, they may need it because they went into week 1 with just 2 tight ends. They've added one to the roster, but I don't see him fitting in. Jordan Aiken's the only other tight end on that roster. In fact, I put him into my FanDuel lineup today because he's so cheap. And he's the only tight end there. I think he sees at least 4 or 5 targets, but that's it. That's the extent of it. So I don't know if the Browns are going to run fewer 2 tight end sets or not, but I don't see a lot of footballs going to the tight end today.
John Doss is our guest on the Garber Automall Hotline as we are behind enemy lines. You can find him on X at JONDOSS. John, one more on the offensive side of the ball before we flip it on over and ask you about the defense, which I texted you about earlier this week because I know it was the question in both Jacksonville and Cleveland with regards to Myles Garrett. But first, Jerome Ford, give us an idea of who he is, what this Cleveland Browns run game looks like without Nick Chubb right now. Can it be as effective, or at least half of as effective as it is when Chubb is available?
I think Ford defied expectations last year, right? Chubb went down in week 2, and Ford was the bell cow and ran for almost 1,000 yards in that offense behind, again, a very piecemeal offensive line. There is talent there. He's known for his vision. My issue with Jerome is he doesn't have, obviously, the athleticism and strength that Nick Chubb has. Now, that said, who does? Very few running backs in the NFL. It just seems to me that he's a little slow getting through the line. And that was really an issue in Dallas because there wasn't a ton of room there to run. And if you're not a really decisive runner, then that's kind of a defense that you would struggle against, and he did last week. So I think they will make a more concerted effort to run the football. They got behind pretty early against Dallas and really all but abandoned the run in the second half. So I think he does make more of an impact. We see a little bit more like we saw last year.
John, what are your expectations for Myles Garrett today?
Yeah, Mia texted me, and I didn't return the call because I was curled up in a ball on the bathroom floor. I think he's fine. I think that, he dealt with a foot injury in the offseason, and that kind of caused him to miss a lot of training camp. So I think that it's more precautionary than anything, which has kind of been the MO of this team all summer, is precaution over preparation. And I think he's going to be fine to go, and I think it was not that big of a deal.
Number 95, known to men to the fetal position on the bathroom floor. How about Zadarius Smith, the rest of the defense, health of that Browns defense that's been a top 5 unit under Jim Schwartz, but obviously struggled last week against the Dallas Cowboys?
Well, struggled, and I think for a lot of the reasons that the offense struggled, because none of those guys played the preseason. A lot of those guys were held out during training camp. That was a defense that was seeing the field in totality for the first time. And they are dealing with injuries. Juan Thornhill, the safety, now on the IR. And he's a guy who's underperformed, but when they got him from Kansas City, they thought he was going to bring some kind of championship pedigree. I will say I do think that the Browns cornerbacking unit specifically is the best in football. And I think we saw that a lot last week. CeeDee Lamb had a couple of big catches, but didn't have like an incredible CeeDee Lamb type game that we were used to seeing. So that combination of Denzel Ward and MJ Emerson, I think, are only going to get better as the season goes on, and I think they're probably the best unit in football. So they may not have, even if the pass rush isn't there like it typically is, if Miles is 75, 80%, and Zadarius a little banged up too, I think that the secondary, again, is probably the best in football.
John, what do you think worries the Browns the most about what the Jaguars present?
This is going to sound like a real jerk answer here, but I think that the Browns are most worried about one thing, and it's the quarterback. And I think they think if Deshaun Watson is a good player, they'll beat Jacksonville. And they'll beat, for the most part, whoever they line up against this year. But I think there are such serious issues in the psyche in that building with that quarterback that I don't know that they have time to worry about Jacksonville.
Let's expand upon that a little bit, John. I know you and I were talking about this during the week. The idea of Deshaun Watson and his relationship, not only with his offensive line, his wide receivers, but the building at large. It does feel like, to your estimate, that it's not just the headlines, it's not just people reading the box score and saying Deshaun Watson is washed. There is concern from players in that locker room.
Well, publicly they're saying all the right things, as they should, right? Jerome Ford told us this week that they've all got his back, and Deshaun says that the locker room's got his back. The front office and ownership said that they fully support him and just want him to focus on being the best possible quarterback he can be. Off-the-field issues inside of a locker room are, and I hate to say this, are not that big of a deal, right? Those things don't really infiltrate that locker room if you're playing well. When you start to play poorly, off-the-field issues or not, you start to lose segments of that locker room that feel like they're performing to their job and you're not to yours. And wide receivers especially, wide receivers are not good at hiding their emotions typically, even veteran wide receivers. Look at a guy like Amari Cooper last week, who by all accounts is a pro's pro, says all the right things, does all the right things. There was a couple of balls that sailed out of over his head, 15 yards out of bounds. That body language afterwards was not good. So more so than anything else that's happened with Deshaun Watson the last 2.5 years off the field, he is not playing well. And that has the potential to lose that entire building.
What's your evaluation of Cleveland's special teams, and do you expect Stefanski just to kick it out of the back of the end zone on kickoffs, or do you think he'll try and stimulate a return?
Well, so far we haven't seen any I like that. Return stimulation. So far, we haven't seen any of that. They've been kicking it into the end zone. I do think that they have. Well, I know that they have explored a ton of different options, both for the return game and the kick game, as I'm sure most every team in the NFL has. But we haven't seen any of those options yet. But as far as the rest of the special teams, Justin Hopkins may be the best player on the team, so maybe we see 5 or 6 60-yard plus attempted field goals today.
All right, John. I'm going to let this be a little goosebumps, choose your own adventure as we get ready to wrap with you on the Garber Automall hotline. I'll let you give me a score prediction if you want, or I will allow for you to pick an X factor for both the Jaguars and the Browns in this game. Or you could do all three. It's choose your own adventure. You are the guest here in Duval this week.
Yeah, let me slam this cocktail down here before I pick a score.
Perfect. We got the brackish vodka segment coming up next, so if you want to slide on by for seconds, let us know.
Yeah, I would say, okay, let's see, a score or an X factor, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to pick an X factor for the Browns, and I'm going to say MJ Emerson. The Browns defense was actually not as bad as the score would lead you to believe last week. Dallas started on short field position twice and returned a punt for a touchdown. Defensively, they only really gave up 2 Dallas drives that ended up in points. MJ Emerson was responsible for locking down CeeDee Lamb for much of that game. The real issue with this defense is even last year when they were historically good in surrendering points and yardage, they don't get turnovers. What they need to do is turn Trevor Lawrence over at least a couple of times. I think MJ Emerson gives them the best chance of that.
And, of course, Greg Newsome had an interception last year. Trevor threw not 1, not
3.
2, but 3 last year in Cleveland in the meeting between these two sides. We have taken up way too much of your time, sir. We appreciate you joining us behind enemy lines on the Terminix Kickoff Show. John Doss, the sports director at WEWS. We will see you in the press box, my friend.
Sounds good. Good luck today, guys.
Thank you. There he goes. Again, you can find John on X at JONDOSS. He is also the host of Browns Countdown on the official station of the Cleveland Browns. One more segment to go, and y'all know what time it is. It is time for a visit from our friends at Brackish Vodka. Don't go anywhere. If you're not watching on YouTube, you know you're going to want to, either on YouTube, X, or Facebook. Will we do some Duval Donkey? Will we have a different Brackish Vodka drink of choice in store? Chad and friends are going to join us as we put a wrap on this puppy. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade.
This college football season, we're celebrating more than touchdowns. It's time to honor playmakers of the classroom. Thanks to FIS and the College Football Playoff Foundation, Gator Bowl Charities is surprising 16 local teachers with $1,000 each week. Every honored teacher gets a special invitation to the Taxslayer Gator Bowl January 2nd to be celebrated on the field. Teachers from Clay, Duval, Nassau, and St. Johns County, grades K through 12 are eligible. Nominate a deserving teacher today, and let's score big for education at TaxslayerGatorBowl.com.
Hey everybody, it's Mike Dempsey. Here in North Florida, you know that when temperatures go up and your AC goes out, you need help now. Like right now. Like lickety-split. So why not call Lickety Split and get same-day emergency service for your AC? Now, I bet you've seen their trucks all over town because they've got dozens of certified technicians ready to repair not only your AC, but your home's plumbing and electrical too. So when you want it done right and you need it done right now, call Lickety Split AC Plumbing and Electric.
When pests invade your space, you don't just need them out, you need them out fast. And you need to keep them out. At Terminix, we show up for you and eliminate pests quicker because we care about what matters most to you. When pests show up, so do we. Don't live with a pest problem. Terminix it. Visit Terminix.com today to schedule a free inspection online. That's TERMINIX.com. TERMINIX.com. Terminix it.
Jags fans, a new Everbank Performance account could be your ticket to London this October. Through the Everbank London Getaway, one lucky winner and a guest will receive round-trip airfare, hotel accommodations, and a pair of tickets to see the Jags play in London. To learn more and for official rules, visit everbank.com/London. No person necessary to enter or win. Open to legal residents of 50 United States and D.C. 18 or older. Entry period for the Everbank London Getaway Suites is from 8/5/24 to 9/5/24. To enter and for official rules, alternate method of entry, prize description, odds of winning, and other details, visit everbank.com/London. Sponsor and administrator, Everbank N.A.
He's not Pistol Pete, he's Pete Prisco.
Been on the wanted list almost 20 years.
CBS Sports senior NFL writer Pete Prisco joins the Frangie Show Friday afternoons on 1010XL. Brought to you by Showtime Sports Cards and Collectibles.
If you're looking for custom metalwork, look no further than Superior Fence and Rail. Whether it's custom railing, shade structures, or custom entry gates, their expert team controls the turnkey process. From CAD design and raw metal to powder-coated finish and expert installation. When you choose Superior Fence and Rail for your custom metal project, you get a project that's, well, superior. So get off the fence and call Superior Fence and Rail today.
Hello there. Brendan from Play It Again Sports here to congratulate all the parents for surviving another summer. The kiddos are back to school, and you know what that means? Sports are back. But don't fret. Play It Again Sports has the gear you need at prices worthy of excessive celebration. From sluggers and shooters to clappers and benders, Play It Again Sports can turn your kids into goats. Stop in today on Merrill Road near 295 or online at playitagainjacks.com.
Navy Mutual was created by service members for service members, so we know what it means to serve. Our policies have no active duty service restrictions, so you can rest assured that you're covered no matter your duty station, home or abroad. To go even further, we promise that premiums will not be higher for those who serve in dangerous environments, including aviation, diving, or on deployments. Let us help you protect those you love the most. Learn more at NavyMutual.org.
3D Digital has you covered for any of your business's digital marketing needs. From producing award-winning videos to getting those digital ads to follow your customers around the internet, our team has your back. Visit 3ddigital.com or give us a call at 904-712-4004 to schedule a free consultation today. 904-712-4004.
1010XL is presented by Farah & Farah, exclusive injury law firm of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Protecting you and your family. Call 396-5555. Jacksonville. This is the Terminix Kickoff Show, presented by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade Fast Twitch on 1010XL.
Final segment of the program. And as I alluded to before we took our last break, if you're not watching the Terminix Kickoff Show on YouTube, X, or Facebook right now, and you have the ability to, safely, of course, don't do it while you're driving, please turn on YouTube, X, or Facebook. Chad is here from Growler's Bar and Grill.
Here we go.
From his, also on behalf of his friends, our friends, with Brackish Vodka.
Oh, yeah.
It is time for our first Duval Donkey of the 2024 regular season. However, Chad, you brought a twist today.
Oh, yeah. We're bringing twist in. We're going to try to get some good
Cleveland's
recipes.
got a problem today.
Yeah, they got a bad problem
Bad problem today.
So here's the deal. We're going to do a little bit stronger. Well,
boy.
We're going to do 1.5 ounces of the brackish today.
Okay.
All right. We're going to get everything just like we normally do. And then we're going to add blue.
And we're using the original brackish.
We're using OG brackish. And then we're going to bring in a little blueberry love.
All right.
Little blueberry love today.
Who's that courtesy of?
Oh, that's courtesy of Fruitful.
Okay.
It's actually extract.
Okay.
And then we're going to come across the top with the ginger beer.
Interesting.
And make it just a little bit extra.
It's sort of like watching Kyle Shanahan and Sean McVay call offense.
I just love it because it's been so dreary and rainy. This is adding a little color to our world, a little spice that we need as we get ready for a Jaguars victory today, gentlemen.
Man, I cannot wait. I have seen people are so excited. It's like legit excited this year.
We need the excitement, and we need it to translate.
Yeah, we only get one home opener every year. You know, I mean, you only get so many home games anyway.
That's why we got to Duval Donkey it, because there's no better way to kick off the Jaguars' home regular season slate than with
the Duval Donkey.
A Duval Donkey.
Cheers.
Here we go, boys. That is good. That does give it a nice little flavor as the boys are, if you're not watching, they're chugging. Oh, Chad!
Coming in hot.
Chad just comes in hot. The blueberry was that little extra he needed to defeat Carline, although I think if we look,
Great
folks,
job.
I think Carline may have actually drank everything.
That was condensation. It came out.
Oh, okay. That's just the blueberry at the very bottom.
Fantastic drink.
I know. Don't you love it?
Fantastic drink.
I love it with the little bit of blueberry.
Yeah.
Had you done this before?
Actually, I just came up with it this morning.
Love it.
We got these new little additives, and we're trying to spice things up down here. You know, we got the new Bloody Mary mix and stuff like that, and so we're doing everything. Everybody's coming through, and we just want to make sure that, you know, we get that Jaguar love.
That's absolutely first and foremost. Let's run through not only what you guys have cooking at Growler's Bar and Grill today, Chad, but also what Brackish has cooking, because I'm not going to lie. I was at a local restaurant a few weeks ago, and I'm looking at the menu, and there were all these new variations of Brackish that I hadn't heard of before, and they were absolutely scrumptious. So tell us what's new with both
they came out with the flavors last year, but this year they came out with some new flavors, which is pineapple, marshmallow, cinnamon, mango, and I think peach. Wow. I haven't gotten the peach yet because it's been on back order, but we've got all the flavors. We're one of the first bars to have all the flavors, and so we are excited as I'll get out to do it. So we're going to start doing some variations. I've only had them for like a month, and so we're going to start playing with some recipes, and we're going to see if we can bring some stuff good for you guys. It
sounds great.
I'm going to need John O'Leary to take a picture because it is beautiful. You have all of the brackish bottles.
Yeah, if you go on that other side, we got it all up. And
all the colors. Let's taste all the colors.
Yeah.
And what other specials do you guys have going this morning?
Well, today we're going to be featuring the donkey with the blueberry today, and then we're going to do that. And then also we've brought our Azar sausage out this year, so we got that going. And then we're going to do. I think we're going to do a shot special. We brought in a brand new shot ski. The guy's supposed to deliver it to me here in the next couple minutes, and then so we're going to feature the Jags juice on shots.
This is big.
Yeah, we're coming this year. We're ready to go.
Yeah, and before we let you go, Chad, we're obviously going to ask you for a score prediction, as we always do. But tell us a little bit more about some of the other vendors, because this is as full as I've seen Growlers Bar and Grill in the 2+ years that Hayes and I have been doing the Terminix Kickoff show.
So we've concreted all the pads around, and so once we did that, we decided it makes it a little bit more friendly for the vendors. So we've got some designs, like this lady over here is doing custom design work, and then we got Moose Coffee and Pop's Boiled Peanuts, and of course we've got lemonade lady that's in the back, and then we've got a pina colada, so you actually get a pina colada in a pineapple, which goes great with some rum up here that we can always hook you up with. And then the t-shirt vendors and stuff like that are brand new. We got a guy that's making custom shirts today, but he is not here, unfortunately.
That's all right. They'll be here at some point.
But they'll be here.
Yeah.
So we got a bunch of new vendors. So you come out, you can also walk around and shop a little bit and get some retro stuff. And so we're ready to go. We're doing our deal.
Score prediction.
Excellent.
Score prediction today. I believe Jacksonville is going to go. I think it's going to be 21-10.
21-10.
21-10. A big beating. I think our defense is going to get after it. We looked great last week.
Yeah.
Let's hope it carries over.
All
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, Chad, as always, and make sure you stop on by even after once we are off the air here at Growlers Bar and Grill. So much fun stuff happening here, like we said. It's not just the drinks. They've got the Azar sausage. They've got Moose Coffee, the Snow Shack as well. So many fun things that you can participate in. All right, before we get to our final thoughts and score predictions, let's head into the Jaguars locker room one more time. I caught up with Jaguars inside linebacker Chad Muma earlier this week, and we discussed at length those hockey shifts that we are seeing from Ryan Nielsen's defense. Pleased to be joined with Jaguars linebacker Chad Muma. Chad, week 2 up ahead. Let's briefly look back just a little bit. Week 1 in Miami, how would you evaluate the defense as a whole's performance?
Yeah, I mean, as a whole performance, coming out of that game, you felt like it was a pretty decent game for the defense. The guys were making plays, and it was really, they had one drive on us and a couple plays that really hit us, and they were explosive plays. And so when we came in here and we're talking as a defense, it's just eliminating those explosives and eliminating that long drive that they had.
It's so funny because in preseason, everyone talked about the hockey shift substitutions by Ryan. Oh, maybe those will go away once the regular season hits. Oh, no, they're here to stay. What is it like, the fact that you get 4 or 5 plays and then you get a spell, 4 or 5 plays, and there's constant shifts?
Yeah, I think it shows and it keeps guys fresh, and they're able to continue playing fast and running out there and not have to worry about being so tired out there and you're saving your breath almost. You're able to go run to the ball and know that, hey, if I actually need a break right here, we got guys that can do it and step up to the job.
Is there a question of lathering up versus keeping fresh legs? Do you find there's a balance there, or the fresh legs trump all?
I think that fresh legs help trump all. You get a little tired out there, and it still allows you to get fresh on the sideline while you're still seeing that formation. I think we have the defense that allows guys to the next guy can step up and go make those plays.
When people ask you what position do you play on the football field now, what do you tell them?
I still say linebacker. I'm still playing linebacker. It's just honestly wherever they need me, I feel comfortable plugging in, go do that.
All right, looking ahead to the Browns now. Obviously, the run game is certainly always a pillar of Kevin Stefanski, of the Browns themselves forever. How do you evaluate their run game, knowing they don't have Nick Chubb, but Jerome Ford can still do some damage?
Yeah, no, he's still a really good back, and he does a great job getting downhill and making some moves. He has all the tools in his toolbox, being able to get off, tackles and everything like that. And so their run game's good. He's able, the running back's good on making his cutbacks and finding that cutback lane. lane and also getting downhill. And so it's important that we just have guys staying in our gaps, especially against their pull schemes, whatever it may be, their split zones and all of that, and just making sure that we're in the right fits.
Obviously not the best day at the office for them last week on offense. What were some things, though, that you took away and said, hey, that's something that they could hurt us with?
Yeah, I think when you kind of look at our game last week and see what they can kind of take from that is, they obviously have their screen game that, we have to be sure that we're able to stop in those third downs situations. And, they still have great playmakers, and Deshaun is great with his legs and great with scrambling. And, we just got to make sure that we contain him in our rushes.
David Njoku, probably pretty happy about that. But at the same time, the tight end has kind of been the Achilles heel at times for this defense. What is it about stopping that position in particular that could present some challenges on Sunday?
Yeah, I think, watching that first game, they were going to him a lot, the tight end's position. And so I think that will still be prevalent in this game, just whether it's off a scramble, finding that check down, off of their chipper look, whatever it may be. And so it's still obviously stopping their tight end spot and stopping those other receivers that are good as well.
Last question from me, Chad. And I know I asked a couple guys after the game on Sunday about this. Emotionally, losses, certainly the last 2 years, any loss is difficult. But for this team right now, what is the mindset trying to not only bounce back from last week, but to prove that this is not same old Jags, that I think some people have that moniker?
No, exactly. And I think, coming out of last week, defensively speaking, it didn't feel like a super bad loss. And so, but you have to erase, last week and, understand that you lost, but come back to work each and every day. And, it's a new week. You got to go 1-0 this week. And so we have a great opportunity against the Browns this weekend. So looking forward to that.
Chad, thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
And obviously, look, Chad Muma maybe hasn't been the starter some people thought he would be when the Jacksonville Jaguars drafted him in the third round in 2022, because if you're going to draft somebody on day 2, you expect them to have some sort of impact that's immediate and it's instantaneous. That's not the case. But you heard Frangie say it, and we've heard Doug Pederson and Ryan Nielsen say it, Hayes. It sure as heck sounds like Muma, Ventrell Miller, Yasir Abdullah, those guys are going to play critical roles for this defense.
Without a doubt, great interview. And, I absolutely. I like where Muma is. I think he's developing well, and I think he's becoming a player they can count on. So I'm excited to see what Chad Muma can do today. Again, this is a game that you'd like to think Cleveland isn't going to get out of the teens here. And if they do, then that's obviously a problem for the Jaguar defense. But I like the young pieces that they have on defense, and Chad Muma is right towards the top of that list.
It's so interesting because, and that's why I asked him, there's this fine line between you want to be lathered up and you want to be consistent versus you want to have the fresh legs. And how you strike that balance is so interesting, especially because if you're rotating more guys in, yes, they're going to be prepared for the moment in November and December, and that's what Ryan Nielsen has preached. But at the same time, you don't want multiple guys potentially either A, getting banged up, or B, never fully integrating to the defense because they're only on the field for 4 or 5 snaps at a clip. Yeah,
it was incredible last week looking at the snap counts. The Jaguars played 20 defenders at least 10 snaps. That I don't think I've ever seen that. I've covered the team since 2013. I don't think I've ever seen them have that many defensive players log at least 10 defensive snaps in a ball game, particularly one that ended in regulation. Now you can say, well, Tyson got hurt. Okay, even if you had 19 play at least 10 defensive snaps in a game, that is a ton. That is relying on your depth. And, look, this is a franchise that believes they're not just playing 17 games this year. They're playing 18, 19, hopefully 20 games. And so you're going to have attrition as that progresses. You got to have guys ready. And, I like the constant rotation. I think it's smart to play that many guys because I think what they've done here is they've built a really good nucleus of young talent. And the only way that talent is going to develop is if it plays on Sunday.
I think the only player on defense who didn't have a defensive snap was the rookie Trey Prince. I think aside from that, I think every player who was up and active, who plays on the defensive side of the ball, had at least one snap against the Miami Dolphins. Speaking of the Dolphins, before we get to our final picks, a bit of breaking news from Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network. Quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has no plans to retire, according to Rappaport sources. Tua has already begun seeing concussion specialists, will continue to do so. There is no timeline for his return. Tua will be back when he and his doctors deem him healthy and ready. Obviously, the focus here is on the Jaguars and the Browns. Certainly thinking of Tua, but also it's a situation that I think the whole league will be monitoring.
Absolutely, and hopefully he's able to resume his career if that's what he chooses. And I think we're all pulling for him. Is Billy Napier retiring?
We may be off the air by the time that happens, Hayes, but we will keep you posted, of course, on all of the 1010XL social, digital, video channels with the latest on Napier and, of course, the latest with today with the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Cleveland Browns. A score prediction, sir?
I like the Jaguars today. I've earlier in the week, I liked Cleveland, but as we've seen the injury report come in, I just think not having Njoku, Willis, Deshaun Watson, the way he's playing, Cleveland, I really do respect their defense, but I think the Jaguars do enough to get it done today. I've got Jacksonville 20-17.
Dylan Denmark back at 1010XL World Headquarters. What say you?
Jacksonville wins comfortably. They win by a little bit, around 10, and we roll on to Buffalo.
Double-digit victory. John O'Leary, engineer extraordinaire.
Oh, it's going to be a great day in Duval County. 31-14 Jaguars. Wow.
All right, that's our biggest margin of victory. I will also pick the Jaguars. I'm going to go a little bit closer for comfort, though, at 21-17. Our thanks to Frangie. Our thanks to John Doss of WEWS for joining us here on the Terminix Kickoff Show, brought to you by Clearwater Irrigation and Gatorade, and not to mention, of course, our friends from Brackish and Growlers Bar and Grill. For Hayes Carlion, for John O'Leary, and for Dylan Denmark back at 1010XL World Headquarters, I am Mia O'Brien. The Publix Tailgate Show comes up next with JP Shadrick and a whole host of friends. We will catch you next week.
There are 4 seasons.